what it is. Enlightening the 6 cents. Back at it again. Until you can't filter it. It's raw. Uncut, no taste.
All right.
Wait a minute. There we go.
1 minute.
We do have a little slapback.
Slapback.
No slapback.
No slapback.
Okay.
All right.
So go ahead, DJ.
This is still the real raw. This is behind the scenes. We're talking to Mr. Ty Hunt from Lighthawk Studios. Let me make sure I said that right. Lighthawk Studios. Yeah, you get it? You dig. All right. So we still doing some behind the scenes stuff. This is something that you may learn if you're trying to get into the film industry. And Mr. Hunt.
What were we talking about before we got on this?
Monetizing some of the different options, and at the end of the day, it's we have that passion, but we still trying to get paid. We got bills.
Yeah, you got bills. You got to buy food. You got to take care of your household, all that kind of stuff. And so if you're not making money off of your stuff, what's the point?
Right.
So
you was talking about some of the options that you're doing on some of the upcoming stuff.
Yeah. So on the upcoming stuff, we graduated from YouTube because we started there. The most important thing that we did was we started on YouTube just so we can start to build the audience. Because at the end of the day, if nobody wants to watch it, you're not going to make any money off it, right? Mm-hmm. So we put a couple of our things out there just to see if people wanted to see it, just build the audience, and we got a really good response on it. So we're like, okay, cool. If they want to see that and they're asking for more, like these were both episodic things. And so they're like, hey, where's episode 2? Where's the rest of the series? I want to know what happens. That's a good sign. And so we're like, okay, how can we monetize this so that we can keep going? Because the first one that we did, one of the producers, he just funded it out of his own pocket. It wasn't like he had a budget for anything. It was just like, hey, we want to do it, let's go do it. And so he raised the money, he saved the money, whatever he did. So I don't have no idea, honestly. And we did it, put the thing out there, and got a really good response off of it. So that was the first step. And then the next step was, okay, how can we build on that so we can keep doing it? So we started looking at different platforms. The first thing that we started looking at was Amazon, because they have the Video Direct platform, which is similar to Prime because it works in conjunction with it, but it's not technically Prime. But you can still make money off of that. So we're looking into putting it on there and really capitalizing on the audience that we built. And that also gives you a sense of professionalism, because YouTube is a great tool, but there's also a level of, oh, they're not quite there yet if you put it on YouTube versus like putting it on a platform like Amazon, where like it has that big name and you expect good quality off of that type of stuff, right? So there's a built-in, I've jumped up a level from that.
Okay. So I guess my question was, how did you know was there a threshold of when you have moved, when it's time to move to that next level from a YouTube? Because from what we ain't there yet as far as subscribers, but if you get a certain amount of subscribers, then I guess the folks are gonna come to you as far as advertisement, as far as where you get your money.
Yeah, I mean, you can make money off of YouTube and people are millionaires from it, but I personally have found that is more like behind the scenes kind of stuff, or like not filmmaking stuff.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So like I said, YouTube is a great tool. People go to YouTube. You've heard of like YouTube University, right? Mm-hmm. And so people go there to learn stuff, and that's where people get a lot of their content in terms of education and things that they're interested in. But as far as the story-driven narrative type stuff, it's not really designed for that.
Okay.
But you still can make money off of it if it's set on YouTube. Go for it.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying this is how we're gonna recoup some of the costs, because we're like we was talking with the one that we're doing. We're funding it out of our own pockets, Yeah. So nobody's helping us. So it's like somebody don't get some bill don't get paid to make sure we can go and do this.
Right.
But how do we recoup some of that cost?
So it really depends on where you currently are. For example, if you have let's just say a relatively low number of let's say like 100 views or less, right? Or fewer rather, 100 views or fewer. Okay, that's still 100 people that saw your film.
Mhm.
So imagine you charge $1 for somebody to see it. You just made
I
$100.
take it.
Yeah, you just made $100. So you have to figure out a way to capitalize on the audience that you have. And the thing is, you'll find out who your true audience is when they have to pay for it.
That's true.
Yeah, because if everybody just keeps getting stuff for free, yeah, I'll watch that. I can spend a couple of minutes watching it, but I gotta spend that $1, $3, $5, whatever. Okay, I'm gonna be a little bit more selective on what I purchase, on what I watch. But at the same time, like I was saying before we started recording, once you find that team of people that like they want your content, they'll gladly pay for it. Because using Marvel and Star Wars as an example, that's the camp that I love. So anytime Marvel comes out with a new movie, guess who's in line to go watch it? They're gonna pay the $30 or whatever to go watch that film. So they got my money.
Mhm.
But they didn't wear a twist on my arm. They're just like, oh, Marvel's coming out with a new film, done. I'm gonna pay money to go see it. So I want to see what happens and see how the story
Continues.
Exactly. And so you got to do the same thing for your content. You got to build that audience to be like, hey, no matter what you do, I love it. I want to go see it.
Yep. What else you got? DJ Talented.
But yeah, this is Lighthawk Studio University right now.
Yes.
We learning. And people on the chat and all that stuff is learning. They learning. If y'all got any questions for Mr. Ty Hunt, go ahead and put them in the chat so I can ask those questions.
And they can go, and we are streaming live.
Absolutely.
Yes, we are live this time.
This time.
Go to YouTube.
Well, Kaya, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Because you said that I've helped you to grow.
Yes.
In what way?
Learning the camera more because you have a red, I have a red. It's just learning the camera and working with the camera more and more, learning the how the camera actually functions. And once you learn how the camera functions, you can go to the next step. But then I also learned what type of framing, what type of shots, how do you get that emotion from a person? How you with the camera, you basically almost telling the story with the camera itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, that's a lot of the stuff that I've learned from you.
I would definitely agree to that because his vision of, working with you and watching you comes back. It's like, how to frame it up or how to get the shot versus just filming. It's
Right.
more to that than just push and record.
Right.
Yeah. So then we have more arguments.
The most arguments we have is over creativity. What this should look like, or I like it this way, and I like it this way. You know what I'm saying? So, and we really don't argue. It's just a difference in opinion.
Right.
We debate.
And I think that's part of the creative process, because you have your way of seeing it, she has her way, but now find a way to marry the two.
Yeah,
That way
we
you
meet in the middle.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you just want to tell the best story.
Right.
And nothing else matters until that's in place. And so what's the best way to tell the story? That's informing everything else that you do. From the camera movement to the lighting to the acting choices to even what they're wearing sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
All of that comes back down to what's the story that's being told in this particular scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I love breaking down scenes to really the essence of like why do we see what we're seeing? Why are they saying what they're saying? So I remember as an actor, so I went to acting school.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, I started as an actor.
Oh, okay.
And honestly, I think that's super important. Like if you want to direct, definitely be an actor first. Because if you don't know how to talk to actors, that's the reason why you're there.
Right.
But I remember when I was going through my acting classes, one of the things that my teacher always impressed upon us is don't speak until you have an actual reason to. Because it's not just like saying a dialogue, but why are you saying it? And right now we're having a conversation because you wanted to, reach inside my brain cells and see what I know. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I'm speaking, right? And so every single character in the scene has to have a reason to say something, otherwise if they don't,
Why are they talking?
Right. They also got to pass the lamp test too. You guys know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Ha. So the lamp test is literally if you can replace this character with a lamp and nothing in the scene changes,
Oh.
they have no reason to be
Oh, okay. So don't just be adding characters just to get somebody apart.
there. Right. You know, 'cause- oh man, it makes me sad because again, I'm very much a people person. So if somebody's like, "Hey, can you have something for me?" I want to say yes, but at the same time, if the story doesn't need them,
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not giving them. I'm giving them a disservice basically. is what I'm giving. And so it's hard, but you got to trim the fat. Like if you have this this scene that doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, it's like, okay, what's the problem? Oh, like I can get rid of this person because he's not really saying anything or doing anything, or whatever the conflict is isn't really very strong or whatever the case may be. Learn how to trim that fat so you can get to the meat of a chef or something like that.
Mhm.
Everything go back to food, man.
Hey, it really does. But yeah, trim that fat so that you can have a scene that gets in as late as you can and gets out as early as you can. You never want it to to linger and everything. That's how you create that emotion. Whether it's a tense emotion or it's like a happy emotion, whatever the case may be. Get in, get out. Keep it moving. You know what I mean?
I like that. And just when you was asking me those questions when we was on set, before as me doing my directing debut, so what with this thing. But I appreciate the questions you was asking because it made me think about it a little bit differently than just. I wouldn't say it still was more than words that's on the paper, but why?
Mhm.
The reason why is all this happening? And it's like okay, yep, this is why. And then when he's like, okay, what is when it was that scene, I can't remember the actual question, but the scene where he's he's like, well, what do you feel is for the best possible you can get from him? And that was when he was at the table. I say the camera looking directly at him as he comes to the table and put that money down. That was, to me, that was the best way to convey what we're trying to do. So I totally appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.
Totally appreciate that.
It's funny because directing is simple and hard at the same time. It's simple because you just break it down to the essentials of what the scene needs.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard because it's like you're so used to thinking about it that you don't think about it because you live all this stuff. That's really all it is. You're just recreating everyday experiences. And so you got to learn how to break down experiences that you've had. And I think that's why you see directors that are most of the time a little bit older because they've gone through stuff, and so they know what things are supposed to look like and feel like, and how people typically would react to that.
Yes.
But you just got to think about it in that way. It's like, okay, because like the scene that you're talking about was son or brother rather had just found out that his brother was kidnapped and that his life was being held for ransom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked you, how do you think he would feel about that? Right?
Be pissed off.
Yeah.
Scared at the same time.
Right. All these different things. And so the question now becomes, how do you
convey that?
Convey and create that tension so that you can feel that.
Yes.
And because that was what, when I was watching the scene, watching the rehearsal, that's what for me was missing. The emotion behind why we're doing something. Because as human beings, we're emotional creatures. I know I mentioned earlier that I'm like the least emotional person in the world, but even I have emotions. Right? Everybody feels and reacts to things based on how they feel and what they think.
True.
Right? And so learning how to tap into that for every single one of your characters. Because the crazy thing is, even in the same scene, we're not enemies, but we have different points of view. Right? Mm-hmm. And so now we have conflict. And every single scene has to have conflict of some sort. Otherwise, again, why are we watching it? We're watching it. Right. Because that was a bottle.
That's all right.
That's all good.
We get it.
Sound effects. We're in a Foley studio now. But yeah, just going back to that conflict, man, just really defining that and really looking at how people look at things differently. That's what's really going to make the scene be the scene.
So what made you make that transition from being an actor to the director, coming from in front of it to going behind it?
Well, directing was always my goal.
Okay.
And I wanted to act so that I can get to the director spot. I wanted to, act so I can raise, get enough money to be a director. And then I was like, this is stupid. But I wanted to act because one, that's just something that I absolutely enjoy, being a different person and being creating a character from nothing. But also, like I was saying earlier, I thought it was super important for me to learn how to be an actor so that I know what I need or what the director needs from me, and vice versa. What I can get from the director, what I expect from the director. Because at the end of the day, the story is the first and foremost thing that the director's worried about, and then the next is the acting.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could have the most beautiful set. Your production designer made that. You could have the best camera moves and the best lighting and all the other stuff. And if your acting is not where it needs to be, none of that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, and that's why I always correct people when people say I'm a DP. It's like, no, I'm not. I know how to do the camera, and I can DP, but I'm very much a director first because that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about the story and the acting and bringing all of that to life. And I want to bring people on that are better at DPing and stuff like that, so I can focus on
acting. So your preference is directing versus being a DP. So okay, that's good to know, because me and him sometimes we bump heads because like I'm asking him for like the shots because I want to concentrate more on the acting, and he's like, well, what do you want me to do, Miss Director?
Hey, I'm trying to give you perspective of what you want me to do, what you need me to do.
I want to concentrate on them delivering the passion or the conflict or whatever it is that's on that paper. And I want you to decide on what's the best shot to make sure I get that.
Okay.
Well, it's a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a very collaborative thing.
And that's what I was trying to, but you're trying to like, well, whatever you say, Mr. Director, that's like, but I need your input.
Right.
Thank you, Ty, for being here.
Yeah, no worries.
Tell him.
That's why you're
Damn
there.
it.
Because the director and the DP are such a connected team, and you have to be, because the DP's job is to enact the director's vision, right? But at the same time, you're there for a reason. I don't want, like my buddy Fraser, he's a phenomenal DP, and the reason why I like working with him is because I was like, this is what I see. And he's like, oh, we can do X, Y, and Z to make that happen. And I was like, I didn't even think about that. And that's why he's there, because he has a different way of seeing things based on how I'm explaining, what I need to have happen in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you have a good symbiotic relationship, because he has the freedom to be like, hey, I see what you're trying to do, and I don't see it that way. Here's how I see it. What do you think? And that's where that collaboration comes in, because a lot of times, as you're directing, you're like, you have your tunnel vision. You're like, this is how I see it. This is what I want. But somebody else can be like, let me try X, Y, and Z, and it's like 20 times better.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're seeing just elevated even more.
It's like,
right. And that's why you have a team, so you don't have to do everything, think about everything all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But since you guys are married, that part of it.
That's a whole new dynamic.
That's another dynamic.
Whole new dynamic right there.
But yeah, like I said, you're there for a reason. You have a certain aesthetic, you have a certain eye. You're not just a button pusher. You just do what the director is saying, and vice versa. You should go back and forth and be like, hey, this is what I want to do, but what do you think?
Right.
That way, it opens the conversation, and then that creativity can flow. Because if you bring somebody on that has that level of creativity, you can have so much more cool stuff happen.
Now, let me ask you this: is there such thing as too many shots of one scene?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%. Because for one thing, there's only so much that you can shoot, and then you start repeating stuff. A good example of that, I was working on a feature film where we had a 2-camera setup, and I wasn't directing this one. I was just, helping out. I was just there. And so I was just there observing. I didn't say anything, and I felt bad because I knew what the answer was, but I was like, I am here, so let me not overstep my line, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there were so many times where A-Cam and B-Cam had the same shot, just like a little bit off, a little different, but not enough to be like, oh, this is a new shot. It's like, why are we doing the same thing over and over? And so when you get into the editing room, you're like, this is the same shot. I don't need this. And so it just sits there and you just throw it away. And so having a good plan will help minimize it, because you know what you see and you know what you need, so you just shoot what you need. And then also, I'm very thankful for the film background that I have, because it was very, like, you only had a limited amount of film. And, once you're out of film, you're done, And so I learned that discipline when shooting on digital, because I knew what I had to get and what I could sacrifice and what just wasn't necessary at all. And it makes you think as an editor as well. And that's super important as you're filming, because if you can't see the edit together, then you're not clear on the scene. You know what I mean? And so all of those things come into play when it comes to creating your shot list. Like I said earlier, get in as soon as, or as late as you can, and get out as early as you can. Because you don't want to, you only have so much time at this location as it is.
Right.
You got to set up and build and all this other stuff, and then breakdown. Then you have like a small window of actually filming it. Right. So it's like go. And so you got to be able to just keep it moving.
Yes.
That's exactly what we had this Saturday.
What happened this Saturday?
We filmed another part of the short.
Okay.
And we went to the park where we were doing like a picnic scene. Not trying to give away too much, but it was a picnic scene. And the park where we was at, there were people there, and they were setting up for some type of thing. But then they dragging grills, and they turning on music.
Bouncing balls, and they doing the most.
So we had to. She went over there and asked them, we're trying to film a little scene right here. A little bit of time, maybe 30 minutes to an hour is all we had to shoot everything that we needed to shoot.
Yeah, and from the filmmaking perspective, that's barely enough time.
Yes.
But to them, that's like, dude, I'm over here trying to grill this burger. I'm hungry,
Right.
And so
they were ready to party.
Yeah, they were ready. It's a public park, right?
Yes.
So they have every right to be there just like you.
Exactly.
And so it's that's one of the challenges of filmmaking, especially if you aren't able to lock down the location where you can control it. And so to that end, I suggest going on a day where it's not so busy. Like a Saturday is a horrible day.
That's true. That's true. But then
you got to work around everybody's schedule.
Yeah,
So we went early, thinking we could get in there early, like 9 o'clock. Yeah, people still getting up, trying to get breakfast and all that. Nah.
I remember there was this commercial that I filmed, and we sat at the park. It was like a soccer field, and we went on a Wednesday, and it was like ghost town, nobody there. Yeah, this is the perfect time to come, perfect place, yada yada yada. It's gonna be great for us. We go on the actual shoot day, which is a Saturday. And they were getting there at like 6 o'clock in the morning, doing their, getting ready for the intramural soccer game. So you guys are crazy right now. It's just Saturday. Go to sleep. You stay right.
Yes, that's what we were thinking. I'm like, okay, because like again, we got to work with people's schedule, because everybody's out there doing their thing.
Absolutely.
And then it's like, okay, can we get out here? It's like we get out here at 9 o'clock. People still trying to get up, blah, blah, blah. It was already there, and I had shit on the table and everything. Like,
yeah. Welcome to that film.
Like you said, if you can't lock it down, then there's bound to be something that you got to do.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, the process for that isn't difficult at all. It's just a process. And so sometimes it makes more sense just to go do that process so you have more control over everything. So you can get the stuff that you need.
Now, one thing I do like what you said was there's no bad news. It's just an issue or news, just and how you're going to deal with it.
Yeah. Because
like you said, sometimes my partner in crime gets kind of caught up in focusing on the bad thing. So I have to refocus that direction of all that energy to let's just go ahead and knock this thing out. Because even with the park thing, we had to wait, Okay, they done talking. Go.
So that's one thing that I have to learn. I have to learn not to let stuff bother me when I'm focusing. Right? Because when I'm focused on shooting something, and like, hey, let me get this done, let me get this done, let me get this done. I don't need no detour over here, but then you don't have nothing set to where nobody can bother you. Mm-hmm. So you have to deal with what you can deal with. And then just look over the little hump in the road. Right. Nothing's gonna go perfect on any shoot.
No, I think being flexible, especially on set, is a key skill to have. Because like you just said, nothing is ever going to go 100% according to plan. And so being able to adapt and shift and still get what you need, I think that's a valuable skill to have.
If it went perfect, I'll be looking around like, wait a minute, did we miss something?
Right. Exactly.
It's over to yeah. So go back to the scene.
Make sure. Yeah.
100%. But yeah, I definitely recommend learning to be in your Zen place when you're on set. Because like emotions don't help.
No.
Especially when you're leading a project. It's kind of like having a kid in a sense. I don't have any kids, but I've been around children enough to know. You never tell them all the bad news. Just like, hey, stuff is going on, but we're gonna get through.
Right.
You always try and put it in a space where it's like, okay, everything is gonna be okay. I don't know what all the issues are, and I know that there are issues because I can see people flying around with the head cut off. But at the same time, she's cool. Everything's cool. He's cool. I can be chill too. And so that brings the anxiety down, and then you're able to stay focused. Because at the end of the day, the last thing that you want is for panic to set in, or people to be like, "This isn't going to work, so I'm just not going to do anything." People get shut down. Because I've seen that happen before. And going back to that story with the director being a butt, he was just like, everybody was just like, "I'm not doing it." And so that's the last thing that you want to have with your team and with your shoot.
My I guess director mentor would be Miss Amina Kaplan, and shout out to her. And she was basically what she was saying is like, if your anxiety is up here, then theirs gonna be like double. So you have to, stroke them egos, and she said give them those emotional hugs when she's talking about her actors. Because I was directing something, and it's like, I was like, why? What's going on? I tried to. Sometimes it was getting a little because things wasn't coming out right, so you can see they getting frustrated, and it's like, okay, so he's just trying to keep everybody calm. So the next day, it's like, you know what? We had a great time. We had a great thing that the other day, and we just, you guys, even though we had some bumps in the road, you guys were professional, and y'all kept it together. And they like, oh, I was, and it made it better. She's like, give them those emotional hugs.
Right. And the thing about it is, you have to be genuine about it. Don't just say just to make them feel better, but actually mean it.
True, but you can't tell them everything.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying, just be real with people. People can tell when people are being fake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just be, just be straight up. Be like, look, we had some issues yesterday, but we made it through, and that's the most important part.
Because you know why? Because I'm the president of the real ass people in society. So I know this. I know fake folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to do like a little chat. Now I know you get busy, but you just chat with Ty Hunt, and you just go on and just talk about just little things, little nuggets in the entertainment business.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to. Like I said earlier, I can talk about this stuff all day long, and my wife is like, "Yeah, I know." But yeah, I'm more than happy to talk with anybody about this stuff because I love it, and I want to see people succeed. We all have a journey. We're all in different places, and so if I can help in any way, even if it's just to encourage people or to show them another way of doing it, I'm more than happy to.
Definitely appreciate it.
Anytime.
Definitely appreciate it.
I'm gonna appoint myself a prodigy Ty Hunt.
Cool. So you can go ahead and learn some stuff and get that.
Get them big checks.
Yeah, we can pay off some of this debt. Shit.
I know, right?
That's all of us. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we goddamn dead.
But I will say this: if you don't ask for it,
Right.
That's true
So,
too.
yeah.
Knowing your worth.
exactly.
Oh no, knowing your value. That's how you put it.
Yeah.
Knowing your value. Mm-hmm. Cool.
So next thing, next feature or whatever you shoot with Ty, can I be a part?
Just come and even if it just being a fly on the wall.
Right. You know what? I would love to go on a shoot with you and just be able to be behind you and just see how you do it from the camera perspective. We have worked together, but I was doing the sound for the sets that we've been on together. I want to just be able to basically be, like she said, a fly on the wall and just watch you. And that would be cool with me. I don't need no payment. Just give me a cup of water. I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
You bring your own bottle of water. You'll be all right.
Yeah,
I will say this: you got to keep up because I don't ever sit down. I don't stop moving.
I know. I've seen you in action. I just wasn't able to be close enough to see from the camera
Yeah,
perspective.
all the action.
Yeah.
What's funny though is like, I'm not. I'm just trying to touch every single aspect of the film, because at the end of the day, I'm in charge of the story, so everything has to be in place, right? So I'm checking in with everybody, doing the thing. And it's funny because when I was coming up in the commercial world, I did that as a PA. I was just going and talking to everybody and making sure that they're good to go. And I kind of kept that as a director. And I find that that's super important because, one, it shows, again, that camaraderie and collaboration between the different departments. I think that's super important. And to show them that they have a say in the final product as well. They're not just there for me. Their art is going to show in the film as well. But also, I like interacting with people, and I think that's why you always see me like bouncing around all over the place, just talking to everybody, making sure everybody's good to go. Because if they're good to go, then the whole project is going to be good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Even if a scene isn't quite working or some technical issue is happening, if the team is good, then everything is good.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. Keeping that anxiety as low as possible. Keeping everybody focused on what the real goal is.
Yeah.
That's key. That's key.
See, we're going to have to have Ty back for a second show or something.
Yeah, technically, this was the second show.
This is a behind the scenes. This is information section.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then just reach out to me. I don't know if you have any comments online, but like I said, I'm more than happy to talk to anybody that may have a question that I might have an answer for. I don't know everything, but if I don't know anything, if I don't know the answer, I know where to find it. Okay.
Chop it up and do some little promo spots, and then like, hey, you got any questions? Ty Hunt.
There you go.
All right, but we ain't gonna hold you. We got you here since 6 o'clock.
2.5 hours.
Still holding him hostage, so we're gonna go ahead on and release them handcuffs. And I'm just gonna go ahead on and close it out.
Go ahead and close that thing out.
All right, there it is. Quick chat with Ty Hunt.
We give you the real, like you popping a red pill. Ain't no time for acting, it's like camera action. Real life is a script, real talk is what it is. Enlightening your success, back at it again. Until you can't filter it, it's raw, uncut, no taste. Give it to you in your face, fresh off the chopping block. Delivery every Sunday.